Hey everybody, so here we are back again with this HP system. It's an HP Envy desktop from, I want to say it was 2012, 2011 roughly. So looking inside here, you're looking at pretty much the stock configuration, minus the fact that I went in and swapped out the CPU cooler. Had a really big heat pipe cooler, and that was kind of overkill for the needs of this thing, so I swapped it out for one of these style coolers from Optiplex 390, which had no issues cooling that CPU. Now what's funny is, looking at this, you're thinking, oh, it's an Intel system. No, this is actually an AMD system. It's a socket AM3 Plus motherboard for a HP system. HP and I think some OEMs, some of the other OEMs at times would just, when they had their motherboards spec'd, they would have them ordered to where they just accept the Intel style cooler. Hey, it makes sense that we don't have to stock multiple types of coolers. Well, you don't have to stock as many types of coolers, where you can have one fit both types of CPUs. That's what HP did here. So this system came with a graphics card from the factory. Not sure off the bat what card that is. We'll find out here in just a little bit though. Here's your power supply right there, and that is a 460 watt supply. Just to put in perspective how much capacity for power this thing has. I mean, came with a graphics card out of the box, but that card there does not require a 6-pin connection, but you are provided one in case you decide to upgrade the graphics card to one that requires the auxiliary power. We have this 1.5 terabyte hard drive, which that's coming out and getting replaced with a solid state drive. That'll be coming out in just a moment. Memory, can't remember for sure what the amount is. I've actually featured this system in a prior video where I did go through a lot of specs. I went to the BIOS at least. So if you haven't seen that, feel free to check that out. But in this video, we're going to be giving this thing a solid state drive and Windows 11. Now, of course, this system, having an AMD FX 6000 series processor, it does not meet the Microsoft Elite class system requirements for Windows 11. And of course, that's been nicknamed for the ridiculous Windows 11 system requirements. So we could refer to this computer as a type of computer that Microsoft would prefer you just throw away to go buy a brand new PC that supports the ridiculous Elite class system requirements for Windows 11. And in this video, you're going to see this computer run Windows 11 24H2, and you're going to see how well it runs it. And you're going to think, like I think about the system requirements for Windows 11, they're a big scam. So, that being said, let's go ahead and get the camera set up, and we'll pull that hard drive out and swap it for a solid state drive. Okay, let's go ahead and pull that hard drive cage out, which, okay, the cables are in fact still attached. I thought I had the hard drive out of this one, but I might be wrong. So, this system's very special. It doesn't have your typical Phillips head screws. It has these Torx bits with the little flathead thing on there. And back in the day, I used to call these screws Compact Express screws, because HP, when they bought Compaq used to put these types of screws in a lot of their business class machines. I remember the computers from 2000, the Despro ENs, they had these stupid screws in them. And I mean, to Compaq's credit, the Torx bit screw is a lot easier to, I guess, work with than Phillips, a lot less likely to cam out. So therefore, they could zip these things together a lot quicker. Therefore, well, I call it the Compact Express screw. HP started using them in their business class machines shortly after their acquisition of Compaq. And then around 2008, 2010, HP started throwing these things in their consumer grade machines as well. So now we have them here. So anyways, let's go ahead and zip these out of here. And typically with these things, there's also a little tab down inside here. I got to press down, and the whole cage should shift, I think, up. Yep, there we are. Yeah, HP started building their systems in this kind of backwards style case around '07, roughly. And I actually like this style of case because it puts the processor down in the bottom of the system where it's feeling a little cooler. So that could help with CPU temps. Alright, and we got more of those specialty compact express screws here on the hard drive. Got to take those out. And out comes the hard drive. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to install a solid state drive into an adapter, and then we'll install it back into this cage. Okay everybody, so I'm picking this video back up a few days later. The reason why I didn't really show any footage of me installing this SSD into this little adapter was because I was having some issues with my adapters. As I might have mentioned, these adapters are 3D printed from an STL I downloaded down from Thingiverse, and the problem was, well, they would keep snapping at the areas where the screws go in, because these were actually intended for the Dell hard drive cages, which have little pegs. They're little plastic adapters where the pegs just snap into the hard drive. Well, in this case, we're having to thread screws into this adapter here, and first thing I did was I had to beef up these screw holes because, well, they would keep snapping. So I figured, okay, we'll increase the amount of material, but that still didn't work. They would still snap. So what I ended up doing was I switched from PLA to ABS for the filament, and these work perfectly fine. The screws thread right in, no snapping, no breaking, none of that. So ABS for the win there. So I'm going to go ahead and reinstall this back into the system, and we'll go from there. Well, this thing had been sitting for a little while, and the CMOS battery had died. And I had to replace the CMOS battery because this thing was not posting. I pulled the battery out, and it only measured 0.6 volts instead of the 3 volts it's supposed to measure. So had to replace that, and now it's back up and running. So if I didn't mention already, this machine spent most of its life turned off. In fact, it might have spent a good bit of its life unplugged, and I featured that in a prior video. But yeah, we're back up now, so now we need to go ahead and key in our date and time and stuff like that, which it's funny how it's showing June 2025 for the date and time, so it didn't totally lose it, but it was yeah, not right. So let's go ahead and run through our set utility. It does see our SSD. I'm going to set that to AHCI. So right now it currently has legacy boot sources disabled, so we're going to go and enable those. It says we must turn off secure boot before we can enable that. So we've got to go over here to security, go down to secure boot configuration, turn on legacy support, which got to turn that off first. There we are. So now this thing will be able to boot off of the whatever's on that SSD, and then once we go into finish the installation, we'll then convert it from MBR to GPT, and then we'll go back into the setup utility and turn off legacy support and re-enable secure boot. So don't really think there's much more in here. we need to worry about. Let's go ahead and save our changes and exit. Let's see what happens. Okay, we made it to do a clean installation on here. So what I'm going to do is go back into the set utility and we will just undo the, well, basically we'll turn Circuit back on and turn off the legacy support, and then we'll just go and clean install Windows 11 on this thing. Okay, so I'm going to be using my installer here that is basically a Windows 11 23H2 installer with the 24H2 install.win file integrated into it. The 23H2 installer was originally set up using Rufus to bypass the Microsoft Elite class system requirements for Windows 11. So let's go ahead and insert that. Okay, so apparently the wonderful BIOS in this system is very finicky about certain UEFI installers. Neither of my Windows 11 installers, either my straight 23H2 installer or my 23H2 with the 24H2 image on it, seem to load on this system, even though they have worked fine on other systems with UEFI firmwares. So I guess what we're going to do here is we're going to have to just install this using classic MBR mode and then do an MBR to GPT conversion. Wonderful machine. Okay, so now let's go and run through setup. And of course we are installing 24H2, but we're using the 23H2 installation wrapper. So I don't have a key. And then we'll choose Windows 11 Home. Of course, accept the terms, custom install. Alright, so we'll go ahead and delete these partitions. Create new ones. And let's go ahead and run through setup here and do the installation. Okay, so now we're at the out-of-box experience setup. So since I set this up using Rufus, I was able to bypass the requirement for internet connectivity just to complete setup. So we can click I do not have or I don't have internet. I'm going to put in the name of the person who will be using this machine. I think I got it right. Okay. Turn off OneDrive setup because not everybody wants to use OneDrive. So we're going to wait for the desktop to finish loading. So we'll see the taskbar here in just a moment. Okay, so we have not even hooked up to internet yet. We're immediately just going to go ahead and go back into the SAP utility, the Windows SAP utility, so that way we can run the MBR to GPT conversion. Okay, let's go ahead and pull up a command prompt by doing Shift and F10. Let's see if the keyboard's going to work this time in the SAP utility. There we are. So my keyboard is an old PS2 keyboard from like 2001, and it's actually connected through a USB to PS2 adapter. So first thing we're going to do is launch DiskPart. And list our disk. Just to double check and ensure that disk 0 is our primary drive. Okay, we are good. So first we're going to do a validate command, and that completed successfully. So now we are going to do a conversion by doing convert. Okay, so we are ready to go. We'll go ahead and close out a command prompt. Close out of setup. And now it's going to go back into the setup utility of the computer. And we'll go ahead and turn off legacy boot. And turn on secure boot. And we may have that dumb thing where we have to press in multiple keys or multiple numbers and enter, or maybe not. And you can see now it is booting off of the SSD and GPT. Screen looks a little funny right now because we currently don't have any proper drivers. So let's connect this up to the internet and let's find out if we have the dreaded Realtek Ethernet driver issue with this one. More or less, it will cause a blue screen when you connect the Ethernet cable. And we do. We have that issue. Okay. So, let me go ahead and get the files copied over to my flash drive and we'll get that fixed. Okay, so I got my flash drive inserted with the needed files. So this issue, which I have discussed on this channel in a different video, is caused by a faulty Realtek Ethernet driver that is actually Microsoft supplied. It's the default driver that's in Windows 11. So before we install the new one, let's take a look here. So right here is the culprit driver. See, it's a Microsoft driver, March 31st, 2015, version 9.1.412.2015, signed by Microsoft Windows, but yet it crashes Windows 11. Of course, Microsoft probably thinks that, of course, and they're probably right on this, pretty much any computer that has this specific Ethernet controller does not meet the Microsoft Elite Class system requirements Windows 11. Therefore, they don't care because, well, the system don't meet the Windows 11 system requirements. But literally, it's just a matter of installing an updated driver. They do still, however, own this issue, in my opinion. So we'll let this install. Okay, everybody, so now I have all the updates and stuff installed in this system. I'm actually picking this video back up after a few weeks or so due to having an illness earlier on. But anyways, now we have this thing fully up to date, have several programs on here, and in fact, due to this being now it's early October, we now have Windows 11 25H2 on this system. So if we go in here to About, so we go in here, you can see we have Windows 11 Home 25H2. And if I didn't show the specs early on this system, it is an AMD FX 6200 6-core processor. It has 10 gigs of memory, and of course a 512 gig SSD. So this thing also has a graphics card in it. It's an AMD Radeon HD 7570. So yeah, this is a computer that Microsoft would prefer you throw away and go buy a new PC just to get Windows 11. And of course, again, this system does not meet the Microsoft Elite Class System Requirements Windows 11. Again, that's my nickname for the System Requirements Windows 11, which I think are just ridiculous. So, let's go ahead and do a restart and show you how fast this machine runs at startup. I say it's pretty reasonable for an approximately 12-year-old system with just a solid-state drive upgrade. So yeah, not bad at all in my opinion. So yes, again, Windows 11 25H2, and one thing I'm going to check real quick is, let's see if I had to turn off fast startup. I did have to turn off fast startup due to some issues, so that is basically how fast Windows 11 starts on this system. Yeah, that's one thing you might have to do on certain systems. You may have to turn off fast startup. But, I mean, other than that, I mean, this thing's definitely got some life left in it. And if I didn't mention already, this machine, as I covered in a prior video, it really does not have that much use on it. This thing spent most of its life powered off, really. Like the lady who owned this thing, she would turn it on to do like her accounting for her business at the time, and then when she was done, she'd turn it off. So it spent most of its time powered off, well, plugged in but powered off and not running much. So yeah, it would definitely have been a shame for a system like this to get tossed, because it's not a Microsoft Elite Class certified system, as I like to call it. Again, the only thing this thing's had done to it is going from the stock hard drive to a solid state drive. Still have the stock RAM, still have the stock CPU. I mean, this was actually a pretty decent end machine back in its time when it was brand new. And it's still very well capable today for a lot of tasks. So, definitely good that we could save this system. And I think its new owner will definitely like it too. So, anyways, that wraps it up for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.